it to a pretty good state for never having messed with it.
Yeah, it was a lot of our first times working as a group on a game, so it was really a learning process.
Did you use tutorials for Unity, or what was your process to learn it?
It was a lot of trial and error.
Okay.
Looking through some documentation to get a better understanding of what can be done with C# and all the different features that Unity has. A couple tutorials here and there.
I personally have worked in Unity prior to this, not extensively, but I have had a few other projects that I could look back and see how did I do this beforehand, and if I can I take that code and use it again? And if I can't, then how can I change it to make it work here instead? So mixed with tutorials that I also found, since Unity is pretty well documented, I was able to get things working.
What do you feel that you contributed to platformers that was unique to this particular game? Like, what makes it special from any other platformer?
I mean, I was really inspired by Little Nightmares, and I wanted to make that, like, take that idea and put it into a 2D version. As for uniqueness, I suppose there isn't. It's not too unique or revolutionary. I just really wanted to try this out for the first time.
What was the inspiration for the story when you guys were coming up with the premise for this? Like, how did you decide on this idea?
So in the beginning of the semester, we all gave pitches, everyone in the class. So this ended up being chosen. This was my idea. Like I said, I was inspired by Little Nightmares, and that game is mostly told through the environment. The story itself, with like the alien invasion and the mutations, there wasn't a direct inspiration for everything. I kind of just made it up.
Do you have plans to continue forward with this after the class as a group, or is this kind of just like, hey, we got to get this together as a project?
Yeah, we're not continuing. It was just like 2 years.
It does make a great first practice. You get the hang of what it's like, get the workflow down.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, when choosing which games to from the pitches that they made, I was the one who made those choices, and I picked this one mostly because of the sort of strength and consistency of the art style that she was going for, and it seemed to, kind of be not, just yet another Mario or something. So
now that you've done this project, let's say the next class was going to do the same one, what have you learned, and what would you advise them to be aware of?
Don't procrastinate. Yeah, because it's hard to test like what the new things we do unless it's all implemented, and so a lot of us we did it at different times, so make sure to really coordinate with everyone and keep up communication.
Yeah.
What other software do you use besides Unity?
I used Photoshop for my art. I don't know, what did you use?
I used a mix of Photoshop and Adobe Animate to animate the characters.
I know one of our group members who couldn't make it. I know he used Clip Studio Paint.
And did you use the source control as the coder?
We use GitHub.
GitHub.
I manage GitHub, and I think we both use Visual Studio for IDE.
Did you guys do any kind of code review between each other and pull requests, or are you just like, wow, I hope you didn't write code that has a bunch of bugs in it?
When we were in person, we did checkouts on each other, but I wouldn't say that we figured out really like anything that we did before we push it, something like that.
It was a lot of sort of self-checking.
Yeah.
right, shall we move on to our next game? Next up will be Stitch Quest.
Hello, hello everyone. We are the team behind Stitch Quest. Now some of you may be wondering, what is Stitch Quest? Well, Stitch Quest is a puzzle platformer where you can craft your own platformers using the different yarn types and platform types as is showcased below. But first things first, who's the team behind Stitch Quest? We have our producer. Okay, I'll just say your name then. Jessica Jung. We have our design lead, Steven Bollinger. We have our art lead, Jenny Claudette, and we have our artist, Brent Mack, who cannot be here today, Alicia Edith. I hope I'm not butchering your all's names. Jessica Jung also is an artist. I was the programming lead, Sydney. Hello. And we have our programmer, Kyle Williford. And we also have our sound and music, which was also done by Brent, and I was the writer for the game. Yeah, that's it.
So some of the features and stuff for Stitch Quest is you can craft platforms from the 3 different yarn types. You have a normal type, which is this pink yarn, the bouncy yarn, which is this mint green yarn, and we had a sticky yarn, which is this honey yellow yarn. And then we have different shapes you could craft. Thank you. We have the normal flat platform, the triangle, and the donut shape. And then we also have a grapple system where you can swing between grapple points. And as you go throughout the levels, we had NPCs that needed help. And as you're able to fight. Some demographic stuff. This is for people that love puzzles, Zelda and Nintendo, like games, explorers and adventure seekers of all ages, and it's for both casual and experienced gamers.
And similar games we took inspiration from were Unravel. It's this indie game with a character made of yarn. It's more physics-based than our game, but Kirby's Epic Yarn was a good inspiration since it was puzzle platformer or a platformer with yarn. And Wonder Song was more for the mood and tone of the game, something lighthearted, goofy, fun adventure. And for the style, we wanted something
did have some various programming challenges as well. One of them is just we had to generally learn how to work in a team, coordinate things like art assets, and coordinate together the art assets and code, as well as coordinating having multiple programmers. There was a little bit of over ambition. There were a couple of mechanics that were cut simply because they were too complicated to finish in time and implement into the levels. And we just, like, over the course of the project, generally had to refine certain gameplay mechanics, like such as exactly how the grapple works, or how like the character moves in general.
Now it's time for the game showcase.
Oh, you started. Presenting them.
Turn that down.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Wow.
You can of course move with velocity and jump with the space bar. To interact with objects, you press F.
That's how much yarn you have left.
The flyers you see are checkpoints, so you can walk by to activate them. Activated. For our crafting system, we have it on left shift, so when you tap left shift, you'll open up the menu. You can use Q to change the platform shape, E to change the yarn type, and then holding left shift and when pressing left click will create a platform. There are enemies, so you have to press left click to attack them. I get turned on sound effects. Hawkins. There we go. Holding right click while near a grapple point, you will grapple onto it, and then when you're ready to release, you release right click. And that is the end of our tutorial stage, so now you can just run wild.
This is the first NPC that you have to heal. He needs yarn to fix his arm. Conveniently, right next to him. Next, we have the farmer. Needs his 3 barn parts. She's over this way. And here's our first sticky, bouncy young tree, which we'll use now. And you bounce a little bit on it, but also needs to jump really high. You can jump. That was a little too high. You can jump through the platforms, and you can fall back through them too. Good shortcut. As you see, I lost a heart when I touched the enemy. Look at it. This bride lost her wig because the spider stole it. We go get it back.
There are, of course, some enemies that don't necessarily hurt you, but steal your yarn.
Give that back. Usually you're supposed to get that back when you kill that spider. You just pick up her wig.
Okay, hold on. Say I have them. We do have an inventory to show what key items you do have. In case you forget.
Now she has her hair back. You don't need to fix it.
Yep. You can reach her.
And then this is our next level called, so that what we just saw was Patchwork Patches. This is Pillow Pass, which has a more creepy theme. Once again. That's a bush.
So we have doors where you have to use the right shape and the right yarn type to open them.
Just like so. Oh, we haven't really shown off the checkpoints, but you can die. You can go back to the checkpoint. And then this is our boss level.
You can't get up there.
How about if we switch to questions?
Really? Yeah.
You all can ask questions. I'll try and get the answer.
Any questions for us? Yes.
I have a question and a comment. First is, so what happens if you use the wrong yarn to create a platform? Can you recycle the yarns? You go, oh, wait.
Yes, you can pick it back up.
Okay, cool.
So you pick that back up real quick?
He did. I
Oh,
did.
sorry, I was not paying attention.
I thought you might have done it earlier, but I just wanted to make sure. And then with the, I guess I'll call them the scissor pros or whatever.
That's what they are.
What?
That's what they are.
Yeah, you might want to give them some sort of edging, or so, because they were getting lost at times with the black background.
Yeah.
Yeah, sadly, when we realized that, we did not have time to fix it.
Thanks.
Yes.
I see that you took a lot of attention to your UI, which I appreciate. Could you speak a little bit to why you made the decisions you did and the style of the UI, and specifically the fact that you actually took the time to add an options menu?
Oh. Jesse, you can speak artistically first.
Originally we weren't sure like keyboard controller, but since I guess most of us are like keyboardy and controller was like part of that. So usually like the games I've played use like Q and E for like their mechanics, and so I thought it was like right next to like the WASD. So using those two keys for changing the color and the type of platform would be like the best decision. And like displaying those like two side by side was like a little tricky because like we didn't want to like take up the whole screen. So I just thought like having it we thought having it like pop up only when you needed it to would be nice, and like having it next to the character window would also is easy to like see instead of like
So why I made an options menu. For one, definitely since the beginning of the game, and as you saw when we started this, the sound's really loud, and so I was like, let's try and balance those, or like, have people decide how loud they want the sounds to be. So that's, and also be perfectly honest, I didn't really know what other options we really needed besides really sound balancing for our game. I mean, we definitely did consider having like a kind of colorblind mode, just sadly we didn't have time to be able to implement that. But that's definitely something we would consider adding to the options. Did I answer your question, or?
Yeah, I was curious about the artistic style used for the UI as well.
A lot of it was inspired from Kirby's Epic Yarn, so having like a texture and little texture like line art, colored line art, drop shadows.
We wanted everything to look like it was crafted and stitched together.
Well, it looks cohesive. So good job on making it all look like it's part of the same game. Also, at what point did you guys choose to create a tutorial?
I think that was about second, third, like between second and third sprint, cause yeah, no, I think it was basically after ERCAD and like an IGDA presentation where definitely people, even with the controls right next to them, definitely struggle with the controls a bit, and so we wanted to make sure people knew how to play our game.
Yeah, we got the tutorial because we kept on having to give people a piece of paper with a list of all the controls so that they knew what the controls were. And I was like, maybe we should actually give that to people in game.
Any other questions as we finish our game? Sure.
So I actually had a question for everybody here. Was it clear like where platforms are supposed to be placed, or like just like watching like the playthrough, like was it intuitive? Like did you think like the level design was intuitive?
I think playing through it, as you go and you come to a point where you realize you're maybe stuck or there's no obvious way, that would be the place I would use the platform. So for me, it seemed like it was pretty clear. You know, once you looked around the environment and saw, okay, got no obvious place to go, no button to grapple on, and it should be a platform here. Yeah.
It's a question of difficulty too. Some games are purposely hard, and so that's part of the puzzle is to figure it out. The other thing you can do is you can add like a hint system. Like if you're sitting in a place and you haven't figured it out, after a certain amount of time, you can flash something on the screen that might hint that, you know, hey, this would be a good place to use one of the things in your inventory. You know, it's a choice. It's a design choice.
Do you think the fact that you allowed yourself to pick the platforms back up again in case you messed up makes it much more forgiving too? If you're like, oh, I should be placing the bouncy one here because I can't walk off the edge of the screen and see something new.
That was a good choice.
It was actually Steven who did most of the level design.
Yeah, really fun art style too. So,
Yeah.
really cool.
What was the inspiration for your character?
Oh, for this character?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted an unlikely hero, so Wonder Song, Chicory, Colorful Tale, both indie games made by Greg, I forget his name, but yeah, I just wanted someone who you wouldn't think of as like a hero, someone who like knits and sews and creates instead of like destroying, I guess.
And then I named them Windfall.
Yeah.
Because they're Wimpy Windfall.
Yes.
What would you say was the biggest surprise challenge that you bumped into as you were developing?
The sticky platforms. Getting them to work. It didn't work right, so we had to end up cutting them at the end. But
Yeah, because originally you were, sorry, yep, you're.
Admittedly, in that slide when it said multiple mechanics, that pretty much meant basically just the sticky platforms. Where the initial idea was a bit too ambitious, with trying to like have a donut that you could stick to going around like a sort of like a mini planet. But instead, we had to limit that to just walls and ceilings that were kind of pre-placed, and even then we didn't have time to put that in the levels.
All right, shall we switch to our next game? So next up will be Nubble's Adventure.
So this was our original concept. This was jump into a vibrant, handcrafted world bursting with secrets and charm, bounce, explore, and battle adorable enemies in this delightful 3D platformer, perfect for adventurers of all ages. And then this was the style that we were originally going for.
Yeah, so this was my original pitch idea too. So the style that I wanted to go for was a very simplified style, but I wanted very like smooth shading, colors, polygons, and all that stuff. And I wanted the story to be a very fun story for anybody to play, whether it's your first video game or your 100th. And it was inspired by games like Astro's Playroom, the 3D Mario games, and the story aspects are a lot inspired by like movie WALL-E.
And this was original concept art that Nikki had drawn for our main character, Nubble. And then this is where just pictures from where we started on the journey, like the prototype stages and the early stages of development and testing things out. And again, some nice textures drawn by Marley in our early stages. You can see like here in the game, and then like an elevator done menu, just the early concept designs for things in here as well. And we had broken objects as part of the story that the player would go around and fix up as part of fixing up this world to make it look better. And this is a broken object done by Hazel. Some more textures. And then we had a soundtrack made. Unfortunately, it did not end up getting into the game. It was too late to add it, but we wanted to play it for the years done by Marley before, just little sections of it before we showed.
And Justin.
Yeah, and Justin, sorry.
Justin is not in this class. He is like the composer who volunteered to also make music for this game. So Marley and Justin work together.
So this was, we have a tutorial section that is in a cave and a mushroom area that is also in the cave, and this was the sound design and soundtrack for that section in the cave. It's like very chill, relaxed, you comfortable and started into the game and introduced to this world. And then we have an overworld. This is the O'Malley soundtrack, which is a lot vibrant colors, beautiful. You're introduced to the main areas of the game, specifically the world, with enemies and a bunch of other pieces. And then we have a final boss section as well, and this was the final boss where you must fight this evil flying saucer to free all the other NPCs that you encounter along the way. There we go. Okay, and then the game is kind of long, so we just have a video put together by Zach, just showing off some of the highlights of the final game.
hope you enjoyed the small little gameplay that we showed off there. There's a lot going on in there. So we can answer any questions anybody may have.
Why did you decide to go with a 3D game as opposed to a 2D game?
I like the challenge, and I wanted to use Unreal, and I know Unreal is really good for that. So yeah, and I just wanted something a little different because there were a lot of 2D games pitched. I think there were even 3 other 3Ds. So yeah. Yes.
Was there differentiation between the different kinds of items? Because you had some as a text box up in the corner, some were displayed as a nice little inventory hotbar. Were they used for different things? Or?
Yeah, so the coins, you can use that at the shop. That was when you were changing the color I was showing in there, right?
Why
And then
different places?
because the items, those are given directly from the enemies, and it was just a lot cleaner. Because we did have multiple like iterations of UI designs, and we had a lot of people play the game, and that was just what made most sense to people by the end of all of it. So, yeah.
Was that the terrain editor in Unreal, or you use assets?
No, so actually I modeled all of the world tiles. I designed about 95% of the map and built most of it, as well as most of the puzzles and the layouts of the world. So I went for a more modular. Originally, the idea was to save time. However, as we went on, I realized that I probably should have switched over to doing a single map. But it did give a lot of versatility with building the world that I think really couldn't have been achieved in the same amount of time.
It kind of goes along with what I was wondering. First of all, how much content did you generate, since we only got a sneak peek of the highlights? And do you, if given more time, would you generate more content or focus more on changing something about the quality of the existing levels?
One of the things that we wanted to incorporate more of, there's a little bit in the game, and you see that more when you do play through it, is the interconnectivity of the sections of the game. We didn't want it to just be like, oh, you go from point A to point B and you can't get back to point A. So to definitely flesh that out a bit more would be our next step in just improving with what we have now. And it's really the type of game that you can add as much as you want to it. You just eventually got to call it a day. So
I would like to add to that I'm a little upset that some of my sketches didn't make it in. I actually designed lots of flowcharts, pace maps, and an isometric world map that I sketched out, just so I could kind of start planning out the scale and how I would want to connect different parts of the world. I also used it as a map for key items, enemy areas, and different puzzles I wanted to include.
So you showed us a video of all the highlights. What were like some of the things behind the scenes that really broke down or didn't work, or that you had issues with, that you were able to work on?
See, I mean, everything that we had decided to work on was in the game. So we didn't really hit any roadblocks there. It was more of we had, there were definitely a lot of bugs, a lot of engine bugs as well. So that was not fun to deal with, but we got through that.
We also ran into a lot of optimization issues. I had to go back and redesign a lot of the world assets simply because of different optimization issues.
I also want to bring up, like, there are a lot of animations, a lot of character models that are in this game. There were a lot of issues where we all had to communicate of like, okay, this is just broken when we put it in. So exporting and importing, just fixing those issues too, of like, we made this stuff and how do we get it in there?
I had the most experience and designed all the rigs for all of the characters, so I was able to help clear that up very quickly.
just adding, as we added more into the game, getting things to work together, especially if it was a big, a new thing, like meshing all of the things together in the end.
Following up on that, is there anything particular you felt improved you, or like, oh, this thing we did to our process at the end was really, you know, a good thing, wish we had started it earlier, or whatever?
I would say in terms of optimization, switching up where collisions were, realizing much too late that we did not need the player to collide with the ceiling because they would never touch the ceiling. So taking out things like that, I'd say smoothing down a lot of the nanite polygon or triangle count. Little things like that really would have improved the workflow and probably prevented a couple of the few roadblocks that we ran into. But things that we had to find out while they happened.
Yes. Did you need to mess with the camera at all? Or who messed with the camera to make sure that you could play the game?
Wait.
The camera, just in 3D space, usually the camera can be tricky, especially through corridors.
Yeah, that was. That was me. I did use the 3D, like the template that Unreal does give you, so I based it off of that. And one of the things I did end up implementing was a dithering effect. When the camera gets too close to the player, it actually, the player fades away. So that was one of the quality of life things that helped the player be able to navigate tight corridors a lot better. Other than that, it really just kind of came together with the engine and what they give you. So, yeah.
I think some of the other groups have said they were able to have people try it. Did you have people try? Did you get feedback? Because we didn't get to see it, so we didn't get a feel for what, get as much a feel for actively playing. So how was it received, and what did you find from those tests?
Yeah, everybody generally very much liked it. There was a lot of sometimes confusion with where to go or what to do, what you can or cannot interact with. But that's clearer now because we have interact icons that show up around everything that you can interact with. The player looks in that direction too. So just little things like that. So I would say a lot of big things were done well enough, but it was the small things that started to kind of pile into something big, and we just had to shake those away, take care of that, and I feel that we did.
And along with our own members' game testing, play testing, we also attended the IGDA and the ERCAD convention as well. As well as that, I actually had shared some of the game with coworkers, friends, family, and I know several other people on the team did as well. Just to get as much feedback as possible, because any feedback is good feedback.
A lot of the some of the big main things that we got from ERCAD was easily fixable things, like the lighting was kind of low in the tutorial, so you couldn't really see how to jump. We had a good jump platform, so you could learn how to jump and the controls with that. So we added the crystals. I think you can see in one of the shots. So it was better lighting in those darker underground areas, and just more icons for like Zach said, over top of things to know what to do. We have the healing pad that heals your character if you get hurt. And before we didn't have any icon for it, and so we added stuff like that around the map in different places, so it'd be easier to understand. We're adding a specific NPC to explain a puzzle better, so the player could better understand what was going on before when you did it.
All right, so we move on to our final game. So, thank you. So our last game of the evening is Spelldown. Does one of the other teams remember which audio output you chose?
It automatically connected mine to it. I'm not sure which it was.
Is that some kind of absent thing for
I think it was Extron
Extron.
Scalar
Yeah.
HDMI.
Yay.
Perfect sound effect for that.
Okay. Hello everybody. This is Spelldown, an action roguelite card game. So, oh yeah, also deck building. So basically, if I had to describe this in 2 games, it's a mix of Wizard 101 and probably Slay the Spire. I hate comparing to that because every card game that's a roguelike is Slay the Spire. But basically, it's about a revived mage who is tasked down to hunt a legion of shadowy spellcasters. So I'm Al Smith. I am the game designer and also a programmer.
I'm Gabe Morrison, I'm the lead programmer.
Brian McKenzie, 2D UI artist.
Mariel Chavez, 3D artist.
TJ, I'm a 3D artist.
Abby Lair, I'm the lead artist.
And those not with us today are Katarina, who is our producer as well as 3D artist, Lucas, who is a 2D artist, and Josh, who is our composer. So we're going to go over a brief foundations and how this game came to be, just through some concept art. In the start, we look at our very basic card concepts. We started with simple bullets, scattershot variations of that, boosts, homing projectiles, and then also some AoE options like explosions and slowdowns, and then also a dash for other boosts. Our base character models and our base character concepts were done very early and never really finished, but you'll see a few examples of these in the game. And then talking over our game now, there's also a few new cards that we've added very recently, which some of the people in our
class have seen, some of the people have not. Like we also have shield, which is a variation of the attack boost. We have heal, which is just a basic heal yourself for a bit of missing health, and then the stun card, which will hamper enemies. We also have poison, which is kind of a damage over time effect, and then smoke bomb, which is similar to stun, except it confuses the enemies instead of stuns them. We have some special ones, like being able to mirror your character, being able to slow down projectiles, and then also being able to teleport.
Okay, so on the 3D side, we were tasked with creating like interactive props and then just textured props to kind of decorate the scene. So the loom is where you can go to create new cards, and these cards are the potions cards. The dungeon props are basically just props that might be found around the dungeon, to kind of give it that more abandoned atmosphere. We also have loot drops, well, collectible items. These are what you collect to create the new cards on the loom. And then on the next slide, we also have loot drops that you can collect from enemies when you kill them.
We will have a live demo, but these are just some screenshots. One thing to note, which is always fun, and this has happened to me 3 times now, we were originally going to showcase all this on my computer. My computer just decided, hey, I'm not going to run anything anymore. So we are doing this on a very late second Mac build. So hopefully everything will still go to plan, but please be patient. And we're going to showcase those now. So, well, I am not going to be able to play and talk very well, but there's our layout loadout as well as just a few instructions to showcase it, and we will get into a new game. So the very basics is you can use Q and E, or you can use these to move. There are reagents to collect in scene. For instance, I just picked up 6 mushrooms, and then there are also spell cards that you can pick up. Here's just a basic spider enemy, and yeah. See a little bit of our, just a little bit of the starting area. There are people you can talk with. Well, basically, some of the reagents we collected will show up down here, and you are able to collect them and be able to craft new cards. Since I am going to add a few teleports. Here's the basic inventory. You can add new cards to it from here, and you're started with just a basic loadout, just of a few cards that are useful for starting. And then to enter the dungeon, you just fall through here. It seems like this works well. So I'm just letting the music start up a bit because we have 2 variations of the theme. One which is a silent theme, which is played when there are no enemies nearby who can see you. And then there is a combat theme, two basic enemies. We have the spider, which kind of has a jumping attack, and then we have the enemies over here, which are effectively replicated players that have specific casts that are mirrored from. This is not fun to multitask. But basically, there are enemies with mirrored abilities that match what the player can do. So this is just one of the level examples where you can fill this in and just kind of be able to get through the level and and then also, if you ever want to check your deck at any time, you can also check here, kind of be able to tell what your cards do. When you run out of cards, it will automatically reshuffle and replenish.
There's a 10-second cooldown, then you get all your cards back.
But yeah, we did not have a beautiful video presentation like the last game, but this will be available to play for anyone who's interested.
Questions?
Are the cards randomly populating as you use other ones?
They are based on the cards in your deck, but they are randomly pulled, so they'll randomly draw 4 at the very beginning and keep randomly drawing.
Sorry for this, what engine do you use?
This is Unity.
I noticed you set up a save system. Were there any challenges associated with that?
So actually, funny enough, out of all of the things that was programmed in this game, that was probably the only one that followed a tutorial. So I am not one to use brackeys that often, but his save system tutorial, mostly just figuring out that binary formatting existed, was what I referenced.
What was your thinking for the behind the control screen? I noticed you're clicking the cards and then selecting areas and stuff. Did you think about assigning buttons?
There are buttons.
I forgot to show that. So 1 to 4 are the buttons that are assigned. I just genuinely forgot about that because I was used to the old card layout that we had.
You listen to your IDD feedback.
Yes, yes, we had yours feedback specifically as one of our bug fixes. But yeah, any more questions?
If you were to go through and just work on polish instead of adding new content, what would be the first thing that you'd want to focus on?
Good question. That is definitely one of our.
It doesn't have to just be technical polish either. It can be artistic polish.
I guess in terms of, I'll have Abby answer the art side of things, but for the technical polish in particular, definitely the control scene. There are still fun features of it that feel a bit rushed and feel a bit clunky that both on the back end and on what you see here need to be improved a little bit.
And on the art side, I believe that what we want more refined would be the 3D models. As you can see, we're using the enemy model for the player model. We did have a player model in mind, but we just did not have the time to get it pushed. So that would be one thing we'd want to work on, as well as getting the other teachers that deal the cards out for you, get them finished as well.
I like the design for the goat face. That's pretty cool.
Anything you particularly liked about using Unity and challenges you found from using Unity?
I mean, personally, I found the scripting pretty easy. It was definitely a lot less tedious than it is in C++, because I have to delete everything. But there were definitely some complications trying to figure out where I put things and stuff like that. Trying to figure out how to assign things in inspectors and figure out why it's not saving. But I mean, most of it's just kind of growing pains.
And just from my perspective, particularly, Unity is an engine I'm very familiar with. That is mostly why I pitched it as a Unity game. But I know in particular with this project, probably my biggest gripe, as usual, is the amount of content we had versus the amount of time we had to use it. So there's a lot of just scripts that do one thing in the back end of the code that definitely should be combined.
What was the theming behind the card colors? So you have the homing attack was the right green card there, but the other green cards look like they're supposed to be supporting.
Yeah, so in the original plan, we kind of had the player going down one class route. So the colors are kind of deterministic of what comes from each class. And each, so the green cards in particular are the diviner class, which is a support class, so they have the heals, the buffs. But the one design choice that I made was that every class has at least one attack. So the homing missiles decided to be diviner just because it's a bit slower, it guarantees a hit. It does less damage overall, and there's a little more skill or a little less skill to be using it in terms of aiming. The other classes are the duelists, which are the gold cards. You saw the scatter shot and the regular bullet were both cards from that class. Time stop is a bit of an interesting class that really just involves playing around and kind of jumping around your enemy before they can get you.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks to all of you. So we still have the students will be around for a little bit.